I don't ever want to be my mother, declared Anna, and every woman past 28 realizing they were exact mother. Yet for us, we were not simply our mother in features or even demeanor. We were their fears. Growing up, my mother was undeniably harsh, which is usually mean and soul crushing. She was a dichotic figure that could be really funny and generous with everyone, but with me selectively. Her excuse? I'm only harsh because I love you. Who says that? Replied Anna. I'm harsh because I love you. Where in the Bible was Mary slapping Jesus because he spent too much on wood for carpentry class? She had returned from a disastrous trip to visit her mother and was realizing a vicious cycle I too had caught in my mommy dynamic. For all that we see them, they don't see us. Hence, our visits back home, which we usually do for a sense of comfort, only ignite a feeling that perhaps we've never really have had a home to go back to, or feel safe in our family's presence or our own skin. Every time Anna gets an existential crisis, she books a flight to Honduras to visit her mother, who went back after living in Texas and running a restaurant. She married a Jamaican man, had some beautiful babies, and made Anna, in some ways, the redheaded stepchild, the one born from her first husband, who you might know as Lord Voldemort. A beating man, she wrapped Anna in her bosom and crossed the border in a tale Oprah or Reese Witherspoon would consider for their book club recommendations. She basically escaped him. Yet there was a problem. She never let Anna live it down, to the point where Anna sometimes wishes she had just dropped her somewhere along the desert trek. She knows what I'm going through and truly feels like shitting on me is a form of comfort. Why does everything have to be a lesson on how I'm not living my life as well as she did? No, I did not cross borders, but I ended an engagement with a toxic MF before I needed to. Oh, and here's a new thing, Deandra. She's old and dying at 58, so she claims. What do you mean? She doesn't want to go to the supermarket by herself because apparently she's a daisy and she could get plucked, but she doesn't want to pester my brothers or stepdad because, they have penises. And when we go out to eat, she looks at me to order for her because, she just doesn't always know what food to eat. And she went through my clothing, Deandra, and was like, I see a lot of new expensive things. Anna cried a weird shriek of grief and anger. The end of her 7 week engagement to the man she now refers to as Ted Bundy's twin flame had left her reeling, but not in grief for what she lost, but in realization that perhaps she never gained. It was as if she was mulling through her life as a people pleaser and wondering what it really won her, especially in terms of her mom, who went from liking her ex to apparently always knowing his TB energy. My entire life, I've been a good girl. I followed the rules and ideas of my mother, especially towards men, which is why I know she's not happy, declared Anna. As a recovering people pleaser myself, I knew what she meant. We were raised by women to be performative and assure everyone was comfortable and even happy with us. But what our comforts and joys were did not matter. And now we wondered whether our mothers loved us out of duty or with depth. What Anna really wanted was for her mom to hug her, tell her that her ex was an absolute prick, and that time does not matter on the journey to happiness. Instead, she got judged and apparently fashion police. She wanted to go back to her childhood room and at her grandma's place where her mother had moved and feel like a little girl just watching TV, overeating junk food, dreaming, and just letting her body rest from so many emotional upsets. Instead, she was her mother's Uber Eats to the grocery store. Seeing Anna activated her mother's neediness and wanted to be taken care of and want to be taken care of because in some ways we were our mother's mother, giving them unconditional love while they gave us their poor lessons on the topic. Yet realizing that was pushing Anna into a hole if she never really had a mom or a home to feel loved, was she always choosing men that did the same? Not love her, but sure love what she ordered off menus. Okay, so let's discuss. Um, I think Anna did what I do. I think every person who comes from a traumatic childhood or like a toxic childhood, we have I think I'm trying to put in words because this is like really powerful for me to talk about. I think Anna and I have a similar dynamic with our mother and that we have a lot of compassion for them, especially with all that they went through, in particular in terms of the men of their life, and even with our own grandmothers who were fabulous to us, but questionably harsh, and you know what harsh means on our moms. there's just this feeling of kind of delusion because our mothers are so convinced they were sweet, they never hit us, they never scolded us. We were so, you know, one of the scary things about my mom is that I'll say she hit me and she'll say, "No, I never hit you." Okay, I did, but it wasn't that hard and everybody hits. Or she'll say her memory is really off, especially because she has had some traumatic brain injuries. But somehow she remembers that I did all this stuff. And it's really scary because it's something that I noticed. One of my cousins, her mother, um, accused her of hitting her. And it was this huge thing in the family. Did she hit her? But it was that my aunt um, did hit her kids. And I think my cousin deflected it at 35 years old, deflected her mother punching her. And it became this debacle. Like, I can't believe she hit her mom back. And it was really just like, I didn't let you hit me, but I didn't hit you. Um, and that's something that happens to a lot of women, particularly a lot of Latina women, in terms of this real pressure to kind of become the emotional band aid to people that wounded us, to become the servant of our mothers who were the servants of their mothers and all the men in the family. And I think for me and Anna, like Anna is just ended this engagement and she's in her 30s and there's just this kind of she's just going through a really hard time because she's kind of wondering, you know, and it's something that Yali mentioned. It's almost like you feel like somebody possessed you for 10 years. Like that wasn't you. You had a body snatcher moment and you don't know how you were doing these things, working at this job, being in a relationship with this person. Like, where could somebody like get a pulse? Like, where was I? Um, and I think with Anna, she goes back home thinking she has almost a like illusion of what home is. And she goes back to visit her mom and her childhood home, and it's always this kind of, actually, this is the most unsafe place for me. I get overly criticized. My entire life apparently is a cluster F of mistakes. The guy that you hated, now you love him, or the guy that you love, now you hate him because I left him. It's just this overwhelming, I will never win in front of my mom. I will never satisfy her. I will never make her proud of me. And it takes a really big moment, like the loss of this engagement, to kind of realize you've been living your whole life pleasing people that will never be pleased by you. And it's something I realized with my dad that devastated me because my dad did not love me. But he was smart enough and manipulative enough to make love a goal. If you just did this, if you just did that, if you just acted like this, if you just were, and it really was, he was mentally like sick because he just loved to play games with people and watch them cry and destroy themselves or destroy someone else to keep him. He was sick, but it worked, and even I played the game. And my mother could sometimes have that game too of just, I don't say what I want, but I heavily imply it, and you're certainly going to know I wanted it when you don't do it. And with Anna, that trip in particular, her mother, I think the loss of the engagement triggered her mother to kind of, well, there goes grandkids. You're already old. What's going on here? And then I'm old too. And now I'm 58, but I might as well be 88. It just triggered this real shift. And it's something that I talked about in Carmen, where I think Latina women, if we are not popping babies by 28 and married, we do get this kind of gray gardening instance in our lives where we're taking care of our mom and it's our duty, and it's not our brother's duty. It's not our mother's duty to take care of themselves. It's ours because they made sure we had a bedroom to cry in after they yelled at us. And I, the trip, what I was really trying to convey was how much this trip made her realize that perhaps when you it's almost like our mothers convinced us you had a great childhood and you should be so grateful, and it was all very performative energy. And yet we make these mistakes off of childhood lessons, like this belief that if we just are extremely kind to everybody, everybody's going to be kind to us and everybody's going to love us, while simultaneously telling us to never trust anyone. Like, which one is it? Why do I have to be kind to everybody when I can't trust everybody? Like, which is the lesson here? It's something my mom would do all the time when I would tell her my dad was verbally abusing me and being incredibly malicious, and financially malicious. She'd be like, just be kind to him and he'll soften up, he'll calm down. And it really left us unguarded. And I think with Anna in particular, the way he flipped to just become this different guy after that rock hit her finger made her really look at her life like, am I really seeing things for what they are? And I think I give her a lot of compassion and empathy because it's a journey I'm on and it's a journey so many people are on, in terms of, I think there's this idea that you should just heal and get over the past. But some of us had really dark pasts. And some of us were trained to think the past was great and that our depressions and our emptiness and our bad choices have no roots. But they do. I was desperate to leave home, desperate. And I left home thinking, finally, I'm going to have a place where I am being an episode of my life where I'm not pleasing everybody and I'm putting me first. And I just put my friends first, my boyfriends first, my bosses first. Like, I really did replace my parents with other people that could, take up that role of authority over me. And for no reason. Like, that's what's so diabolical. No reason. I got screwed for no reason. Chose it, chose it. I chose it. And it was for no reason. And I feel bad for Anna. I think we'll all find happiness. We just got to figure out the ways we were poorly taught what joy is. So check out daddyrecovery.com, follow me and subscribe everywhere, and thanks for all the love.